What if the titan of e-commerce, a man whose every move is watched by millions, suddenly unleashed a torrent of raw, unfiltered anger at a private dinner, shattering the veneer of corporate diplomacy? Imagine Jeff Bezos, usually the picture of calculated calm and visionary leadership, erupting in a blistering outburst of harsh criticism aimed at his fiercest competitors. How would the business world react when the man who built an empire of innovation and disruption turns his words into weapons, sparking chaos not only among his rivals, but within his own company? Prepare to dive into a night that transformed the boardrooms of the world into battlegrounds of ideology and ambition, leaving a legacy of shock and uncertainty in its wake. It was a cool, clear evening in mid-October, and a select group of the world's most influential business leaders had gathered at an exclusive, invitation-only dinner in a luxurious private venue in downtown Seattle. The ambience was impeccable. Crystal chandeliers cast a soft glow over polished mahogany tables, and the room buzzed with discreet conversations among titans of industry. This was a dinner where the elite came to network, share insights, and, in the minds of many, quietly shape the future of global commerce. Jeff Bezos, a name synonymous with relentless innovation and uncompromising ambition, was at the center of it all. Clad in a tailored suit and exuding a cool confidence, he had arrived with his closest advisors. For years, his public persona had been that of a calm, strategic leader, someone who let his work speak for itself. But tonight, beneath the glimmer of high society and corporate decorum, something was about to shatter the illusion of order. As the evening unfolded, courses of gourmet food were served, and glasses of vintage wine were raised in toast after toast. The conversation among the guests was a measured blend of industry forecasts and polite banter, punctuated by anecdotes of past successes and future aspirations. Yet, as the night advanced, a subtle tension began to build. Behind closed doors and hushed whispers, there were murmurs of discontent and frustration about the increasingly fierce competition in the digital marketplace, a competition that, in Bezos's eyes, threatened not only his company's supremacy but also the very integrity of the business ecosystem. It all came to a head during the dessert course. A respected board member of one of Bezos's ventures casually remarked on the rapid market shifts and how traditional competitors seemed to be regaining ground in unexpected ways. What was meant to be a benign observation morphed into a spark. Jeff's eyes, which had so often been cool and calculating, suddenly darkened. His voice, which had until then been measured and even-tempered, took on a razor-sharp edge. "Let me make something very clear," Bezos began, his tone rising over the gentle clink of silverware. "The so-called competitors you speak of, they're not just playing catch-up. They're undermining the very foundation of innovation by resorting to cheap tricks and regulatory games. They're parasites on a system that I built from nothing." A murmur rippled through the table. Some guests exchanged uneasy glances, while others leaned forward, captivated by this uncharacteristic display of raw emotion. But Bezos was far from finished. His words, each one more biting than the last, cascaded into a full-throated tirade. "You see," he continued, his voice now booming in the otherwise hushed dining hall, "for too long, we've tolerated mediocrity dressed up as competition. While my company has strived to push the boundaries of what's possible, these so-called rivals have resorted to underhanded tactics, subsidies, predatory pricing, and manipulative lobbying to steal market share. And let's not forget the state of cronyism that permeates their boardrooms." The intensity of his words sent shockwaves through the room. For a few agonizing moments, silence reigned as every eye fixed on Bezos. The polished veneer of corporate civility was splintering, revealing a man whose pride and passion for his legacy now boiled over. "I've dedicated my life to revolutionizing commerce," he continued, "and I won't stand by while these sycophants dilute the spirit of innovation. They're not just competitors, they're traitors to the very idea of fair play in business." At that instant, the dinner transformed from an elegant affair into a maelstrom of controversy. A few of the high-ranking executives at the table began to murmur among themselves, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The cameras, discreetly operated by the event's media team, had been recording the entire exchange. Within minutes, the live stream of this unprecedented outburst leaked onto social media, igniting an inferno of comments and headlines around the globe. Inside the venue, the chaos escalated as one of Bezos's own senior executives, visibly shaken, attempted to intervene. "Jeff, please, this isn't the time or place," he pleaded, trying to restore some semblance of order. But Bezos, fueled by his unyielding conviction, waved him off. "No," he snapped. "If we have to coddle mediocrity, then I'd rather dismantle the whole damn system." The dinner erupted into pandemonium. Some guests, outraged by his harsh tone and apparent lack of diplomacy, began to vocally criticize him. Others, perhaps sharing some of his frustrations, nodded in fervent agreement. The cacophony of conflicting voices blurred into a surreal background as Bezos's tirade continued unabated. His words not only cut deep into the reputations of his rivals, but also sent ripples of alarm through his own organization. Whispers of internal chaos and power struggles began to surface later that night, suggesting that the outburst had not been a spontaneous lapse of temper, but the climax of months of pent-up tension. Outside, the business world was quick to react. Financial news networks immediately interrupted their regular programming to cover the incident, with pundits speculating on the potential fallout for one of the world's most influential corporations. Headlines flashed across screens. "Bezos unleashes fury. Is the business world ready for this?" And "Corporate treason or passionate patriotism? Bezos' harsh words shake industry." Within hours, the event had become a viral sensation, with millions watching the footage and forming opinions in real time. In boardrooms and trading floors worldwide, the ripple effects were profound. Investors grew jittery, with stock prices for some of the accused competitors taking a hit as rumors swirled. Meanwhile, internal memos circulated within Bezos's company, revealing that his outburst had set off a chain reaction of uncertainty among senior management. Some executives feared that the raw public display of anger might undermine confidence in the company's stability and strategic direction. A few, emboldened by his uncompromising stance, began to call for sweeping reforms to counter what they described as a corrupt and stagnant competitive landscape. As the night wore on, the backlash took on multiple dimensions. In business magazines and online forums, analysts debated whether Bezos's behavior was a sign of a leader under immense pressure or a deliberate act of defiance intended to send a message to his rivals. Some hailed him as a visionary willing to break the mold of polite corporate discourse, while others warned that such incendiary rhetoric could be a dangerous precedent in the cutthroat world of global business. Within his own company, the fallout was even more complex. In the days following the dinner, rumors of internal friction reached a fever pitch. Employees, who had long admired Bezos for his innovative spirit, were now divided, with some expressing support for his unapologetic honesty, and others decrying his approach as reckless and demoralizing. Senior executives convened emergency meetings to assess the damage, their discussions marked by a palpable sense of urgency and apprehension about the future. In a series of follow-up interviews, Bezos attempted to explain his actions. "I understand that my words may have been harsh," he said in a rare, somber address to the media. "But sometimes the truth cuts deep. I have no illusions about the challenges we face, both from external competitors and internal complacency. I believe that for true progress to occur, we must be willing to confront those who would undermine innovation and fairness in our industry." His measured tone was met with mixed responses. Some applauded his candor, while others felt that his outburst had been a public relations disaster. The incident also sparked heated debates among business scholars and political analysts. Conferences were organized, and think tanks published extensive reports examining the implications of such a public display of corporate fury. Was this the beginning of a new era where traditional business decorum was cast aside in favor of more aggressive, transparent confrontation? Or was it a solitary incident, a moment of unrestrained emotion that could ultimately damage the very principles of strategic leadership and calculated risk? As the media frenzy began to subside, the long-term repercussions started to emerge. Within Bezos' own conglomerate, there were subtle shifts in power dynamics. Some executives, emboldened by his uncompromising vision, began to advocate for bolder, more disruptive strategies, while others worked tirelessly to restore a sense of stability and cohesion within the company. The public image of the company, once a symbol of unwavering control and innovation, was now tinged with uncertainty. Analysts noted that while the outburst had momentarily shaken investor confidence, it might also pave the way for a necessary reckoning with outdated practices. Over the following weeks, interviews with disgruntled employees and former insiders revealed a culture that had been simmering with tension long before that fateful dinner. Some described an environment where innovation was stifled by bureaucracy, where creative ideas were often drowned out by corporate inertia, and where the relentless drive for market dominance had created an atmosphere of constant internal pressure. Bezos's harsh words, though controversial, resonated with a faction within the company that had grown frustrated by years of unchallenged routine. "He doesn't sugarcoat anything," one senior manager commented anonymously. "It's refreshing, even if it's terrifying, to see someone so passionate about pushing us forward." In the broader business world, the event became a lightning rod for discussions about leadership, accountability, and the evolving nature of corporate communication. Major business publications featured in-depth profiles of Bezos, analyzing his career and the catalysts that led to his outburst. Social media debates raged with hashtags like #BezosUnleashed, #CorporateTruth, and #RebootBusiness, as people weighed in on whether his behavior was a necessary wake-up call or a dangerous precedent that risked undermining the integrity of the global business community. In one particularly memorable televised panel, renowned economists and industry veterans clashed over the implications of Bezos's actions. One panelist argued passionately that the outburst was indicative of a new era in business, one where transparency and aggressive honesty were required to break free from outdated models. Another countered, warning that such public displays of internal conflict could erode trust among investors, employees, and consumers alike. "There is a fine line between passion and recklessness," the critic insisted. "If leaders allow themselves to be driven solely by emotion, the consequences could be catastrophic." As the controversy deepened, a series of internal reforms were quietly set in motion within Bezos's company. Task forces were established to re-examine strategic priorities, streamline decision-making processes, and foster a culture where dissent could be expressed constructively rather than erupting into chaos. While these efforts were largely behind the scenes, they signaled a recognition that the outburst had exposed underlying vulnerabilities that needed urgent attention. In board meetings that followed, heated debates continued, but this time, they were confined to closed-door discussions aimed at preventing future incidents and restoring confidence in the company's direction. In the months that followed the dinner, the legacy of that explosive night began to take shape. The incident was memorialized in business case studies and became a subject of academic inquiry, with researchers attempting to understand the psychology of leadership under extreme pressure. Documentaries were produced that juxtaposed the glamorous facade of corporate success with the harsh realities of internal strife and relentless competition. Interviews with former executives and longtime employees revealed that beneath the surface of sleek innovation lay a human story of ambition, frustration, and the high cost of striving for excellence. For Jeff Bezos himself, the journey was far from over. In private moments away from the public eye, he reflected on the nature of power and the sacrifices required to maintain an empire. "Every revolution starts with a spark," he confided in a rare, candid interview with a trusted business journalist. "Sometimes that spark comes from within, a moment of raw, unfiltered truth that forces everyone to reevaluate their assumptions. I regret if my words hurt people, but I believe that change, real change, often comes from discomfort. As the world slowly moved past the scandal, the business community continued to grapple with the questions raised by that tumultuous night. Could the relentless drive for innovation coexist with the need for stability and decorum? Was the era of sanitized corporate diplomacy truly over, replaced by a new paradigm where leaders had to be unafraid to expose the brutal realities of competition? While definitive answers remained elusive, one thing was clear. The outburst had irrevocably altered the conversation, shaking the very foundations of how power was exercised in the modern business world. Years later, the echoes of that infamous dinner still resonated through the corridors of power. New leaders emerged, inspired by the audacity of Bezos' declaration, while others vowed to never let raw emotion dictate corporate strategy again. The incident served as a stark reminder that beneath every well-polished public image lies a complex tapestry of human ambition, vulnerability, and the ceaseless struggle to innovate. In boardrooms around the globe, the story of Jeff Bezos' harsh outburst is recounted as both a cautionary tale and a catalyst for change, a moment when the veneer of corporate perfection was shattered, revealing the real pressures that drive industry giants. It forced companies to confront uncomfortable truths about their internal cultures and re-examine the balance between vision and stability. For Bezos, the night marked a turning point. Though his reputation took a hit in some circles, many came to see his outburst as a necessary jolt, a dramatic call to arms for reform in an increasingly competitive and ruthless market. His subsequent initiatives to improve transparency, streamline internal processes, and encourage open dialogue among employees were seen as direct responses to the chaos of that evening. As the world of business continues to evolve, the memory of that charged dinner remains a powerful testament to the fact that even the mightiest can falter under pressure, and that sometimes the most explosive moments can lead to the most profound transformations. In the relentless quest for innovation and excellence, the courage to speak truth to power, no matter how harshly, may just be the spark that ignites the future.